We're waiting for JD Duran to start Epic Film Guys Spotlight segment.
So, Nick, this is how it's going to work. You guys are going to do. I don't give a fuck.
Thank you, Gazorp Field.
No, enough with your stupid sound bites. For once, listen to your co-host.
No.
Shut up.
Dan, stop saying
no,
that.
I don't. And no, I don't want to hear Dan Brennick either. Again, for like the 50th time today. You guys are going to do Sideways, and then I'll be on for Untouchables because I love that film so much. So be prepared.
Well, I don't see JD on, unfortunately. And
I rewatched Untouchables recently, and I didn't like it as much.
All right. Well, let me go ahead. I'm just going to rush over into our Spotlight segment. And the first film that we're going to talk about here is Sideways. Let me throw a trailer up. I did get a trailer for this. And we'll put it over in... Don't mind me singing or making all these noises. La 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 la.
Shut up. Jesus Christ, man, what the hell is wrong with you? Please, just shut up. Fuck.
All right.
So we have JD prepared to come on for the review right now, actually.
There we go. Get him in here.
Yeah, I got him in there. I said I was getting him in here, Nick.
He's moving. So there you go. He's moving. He's coming, man.
Don't move.
Give him a second.
He can't see if you don't move. Oh, wait. This isn't Jurassic Park.
It's not like the Indominus where that thing can see you at every moment, no matter if you move or not.
Just click on JD. JD, if you just click on where it says On the Air, it'll bring you right into the On the Air channel. It sucks that I can't add people to channels. It's really annoying. Like, unless they actually are in one of the voice channels, I can't actually add them to a channel, which is annoying as hell.
Overall, Nick, though, this is a great experience. I feel like for having a lot of different people on the show at the same time, it's worked way better than anything we've done previously.
I mean, I've watched a lot of this and throughout the day, and I mean, it's worked fantastically. It's actually gone really smooth throughout the day.
I feel like most of the problems we've had are YouTube related, actually.
Mostly.
All right, we're still working on getting JD in here. It really...
Well, what about how fucking
there
pretentious
he is. We got him in on the air.
Is, man.
JD on the air.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
there we go.
JD from the Insession Film Podcast is joining us, and of course, we do have John from the Now in Technicolor podcast with us as well. Welcome, gentlemen, and I just spun the trailer for Sideways, so let's go ahead and open the salvos. And JD, since you're just fresh getting in here, I'm going to kick it to you first.
Well, right there, because I just put the kid down to bed, so I am now scrambling to join you fellas. First of all, I'm glad to be here, so thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being here.
So glad to get you on so quick. You were like on point, man. So
wrestling real hard to get the kid to bed so I could be here on time. So first of all, before I get into Sideways, let me just say I'm a big fan of Alexander Payne as a director. I feel like he doesn't get talked about enough.
Fucking lootly.
I really dig his stuff. So and Sideways is a movie that I really like. Paul Giamatti, Thomas Hayden Church is wonderful. I love their chemistry in this film. They obviously play these characters that are goofballs in a lot of ways, but the film is very aware of that and plays with that wonderfully throughout the film. So, Paul Giamatti he's such he's an actor that, I guess in the same vein as what I was saying about Alexander Payne. I mean, I love this guy, and I'd love to see him carry more films.
He's great in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in, actually.
Got a presence to him that I always enjoy, except maybe The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but that's another story for another time. But yeah, he's wonderful. This is such... But yeah, it's such a wonderful, charming film. I don't think it's perfect. I think there are some screenplay issues here and there that keep me from loving the film. But overall, Sideways, man, it's a film that I think deserved all the recognition it got when it came out.
All right, and John, why don't we go ahead and move over to you? And yes, your thoughts on Sideways.
All right. Well, I mean, I actually really enjoyed it. Like he was saying, Paul Giamatti is great. Really enjoy him. And then Thomas Church throughout the entire movie is really enjoyable. I mean, the two characters, like contrasting personalities all the way through it, are just amazing. It's well done. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, like I say, the way that he is, Thomas Church's character is such a greaseball. He's like this aging has-been actor that's kind of slightly a greaseball through the whole thing. And then Paul Giamatti is like this pretentious kind of asshole. You know, he's very much uptight and stuck up, and he has a problem with everything. And like, I mean, admittedly, he's right through the entire thing about that. But I mean, he really should just kind of let go of his problems, and then the whole story just plays out kind of really hilariously. And the way it ends, I thought was really good, especially with the fact of the whole thing with him being a writer and the way they describe the way the story ends and then the way the movie ends. I thought the way that kind of played out was well done. So, I mean, I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, it's something that everybody should kind of check out.
All right. Well, I want to drop this on JD right there.
Sorry.
Yeah, he did mention some screenplay issues, and I'll be that guy that I don't give a shit how flawed the screenplay is for this movie. The characters in this film, even though Paul Giamatti's character and Thomas Hayden Church's character are reprehensible characters, Paul Giamatti maybe a little bit less so, but if only because, I mean, Jack kind of browbeats him into this, I'm going to get laid on my last week of freedom and you're going to like it. And Paul Giamatti's just such a little feeble weakling of a character. He just basically lets Paul Giamatti steamroll over him. But then he's also just this colossal asshole at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're both so reprehensible, and you have the wonderful, wonderful characters by Virginia Madsen and Sandra Oh, who are absolutely fantastic, who just have the misfortune, I think, of running across these guys. But these four characters, these are some of, and going back to, as JD said about Alexander Payne, he doesn't get talked about enough, and these are the kinds of characters that he creates in his films. They are so engrossing. You cannot help but just get swept up in whatever story they're a part of, even if you find them detestable, and that's what I love so much about this movie.
What I was saying about the screenplay, like the issues that I have of the screenplay are minor in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's the difference in what keeps me from truly loving this is some of Alexander Payne's best work and something that I just find really, really good in execution. And I agree with you guys. I think these characters are incredibly engrossing, and going back to the performances of this film, you know, what I like so much about the Miles character, even though he is a bit pretentious and he has some abrasive qualities to him, the thing about Giamatti's performance as well as the screenplay, it allows for you to sympathize with him, because he's a guy that, while he does have a stuck-up nature to him to a degree, most of those abrasive qualities are rooted in the guy and the fact that the guy's just hurting. You know, he's recently divorced. He hasn't been able to get over that relationship. And you know, I think for any of us that have been in that position, we can sympathize with, you know, his downfall, so to speak. So, and then when you juxtapose that with the Jack character, who's on this last, you know, binge, and he's out to get laid and has a more upbeat and happy quality to him, the way those two characters rub up against one another is just it's incredible to watch in this film.
Yeah, he's absolutely. I definitely agree. Where I you know, who hasn't been there? in terms of, he's obviously still devastated over the end of his marriage, which, if you pay attention to the plot, is actually his fault because he has an affair. And, it's obviously something that he realized how much of a colossal mistake he made. He's devastated by the fact that, they're divorced, and then he finds out she's remarried and that she's coming to the wedding. And they have that whole scene. He lashes out at Jack when he tells him about it, and then they have that whole scene where he grabs the bottle of wine and he runs down the hill toward the vineyard, chugging wine out of the bottle and everything.
Great.
My heart absolutely breaks for this character. Like when he makes the drunken phone call at the restaurant, like you could tell that this is something that utterly haunts this character. He's so broken by this. And it's why I love Miles' character the most out of all the characters in this film, especially because I can relate to him the most in that sense. But it's also why, like, at the same time, he's got Jack as a best friend who, I think, and a lot of people, some people don't understand how their friendship works or don't understand why they're friends just because they're pretty different people altogether. But I mean, I've got friends like that are completely different people from who I am. Yeah, so it doesn't really not make any sense to me. But at the same time, like, I'm not the kind of person that would be the total pushover like Miles is, where he's just so wrapped up in his own depression that he just doesn't care, enough about what Jack is doing. And then he seems incredulous when, Maya's upset with him about, the fact that he kept this from her. And, she has that moment in the car when they're driving back from the picnic after he accidentally tells her, where, he's whatever. And he's like, oh, I was on the verge of telling you last night. And she's like, but you wanted to fuck me first, right? And it's like, when you watch that scene, it's like, I think Miles just has just a little bit of Jack in him, just a little bit. And I love these characters, but I hate them.
You love to hate them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and just in the in the middle of all of this conflict and drama, there are just scenes that stand out as hilarious as we see these characters unravel. I mean, you mentioned the scene where he's running down the hill, which is great. There's the scene where Miles loses it in the winery and he just takes that whole bucket or whatever, just dumps it all over his head.
Spit bucket.
Yeah,
it's a spit bucket for the wine where they're like we're drinking it and then they dump it out into the actual like little bucket there. And since he got pissed, I mean, he got fucking pissed, man. Like he like took the bottle. He was like, "No, fuck that." He dumped it all over himself, so he just grabbed it and dumped it all down his mouth. But he didn't actually drink any of it.
Oh,
he just dumped it down himself. You actually notice he just pours it down his face.
I love that it's kind of a two-front. It's kind of a two-front thing for Miles's character at that point, because you know that they're at a winery that he absolutely and utterly detests. He calls, what does he call it? Fucking raid. I think he calls the wine when they're tasting it. So he hates the wine, but he's so upset.
He's like, they crushed up
mice.
Like
I think mice and shit.
He was like, everything that was with the fucking grapes. He was like, they just threw it all in there, crushed it up, and fucking made this raid ass fucking drink.
I love it.
And more so than the act of dumping the spit bucket on him, what I find interesting about that scene is actually a few moments before that, because earlier in the film they established that Miles he's very knowledgeable when it comes to wine, and he's very by the book as far as how you treat it. There's a respect that he has to how you're supposed to do it. And then he goes up to the bar, and what does he do? He treats it like a shot. He treats it like liquor, like it's something that you could just toss away. It is so against his nature. And I think that moment specifically speaks to the moment more so than the catharsis he has. Yeah, but even the dumping of that is still hilarious to watch.
Oh my God. I mean, to even add more to the layers of Miles' character, I mean, think about what this entire week for him represents. It represents a week for him to let loose and kind of forget about his normal life and just spend a week with his best friend. But what happens when they're there? First, he finds out that his best friend's been talking to his ex-wife behind his back, and that she's remarried, and that she's coming to the wedding and bringing her new husband. Then his best friend shacks up with this other girl and just abandons him for like, literally he's alone for like 3 days or like 2 or 3 days on this trip, where he's like
3 days.
He's clipping his nails in the room, and then he goes and buys a fucking Hustler, and he's grading papers in a hot tub at the hotel. It's like, this is clearly not what he wanted at all from this trip, and it just kind of adds further to the descent of this character. And that's what's when he finally gets the news that his book deal fell through. It's the last nail in that coffin where he just utterly breaks, completely. And it leads into the end of the movie, and it oh my god, the end of this movie where you have Mr. Friendly from Lost. They go to the steakhouse and he meets Thomas St. George's character meets the waitress, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go back to her and make sure she gets home safe." And he's so incredulous about it. And she takes him back, and then he shows up naked at the door the next morning. And he's like, "You got to go get back and get it." And he goes in and he sneaks in and he steals the rings. And then he comes chasing him out the door, buck naked.
Worst part of the movie.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so funny. It's
What did I miss?
You missed the worst part of the movie.
We're talking about dicks, Justin. It's your favorite thing.
Swinging meat.
Hey, I saw something last week that might have been something that could be considered that. I don't know if you want to call it that or not. It looked like a giant Italian sausage, and I saw it outside of the Ned Devine's bar.
My brain is breaking.
I see it every single other week where a male gentleman brings a female back behind the dumpster at that Ned Devine's bar that I like to hang out at right next to that McDonald's. And he likes to slip his thing right outside where everyone can see it.
Shut up! Jesus Christ, man, what the hell is wrong with you? Please, just shut up!
Good work.
That is one of my favorite sound drops that I have on the soundboard. Yes,
I don't know what those things are. I don't even know what that noise is that you're making there. Nick, how are you? What am I a part of here? Justin went into the bedroom to take care of his dogs.
JD's not used to being on the show with this much cursing. Everybody class it the fuck up. Shut up.
Hey, Justin told me when he had shots last week on Sunday that he talked to those guys at the Insession Film Podcast, and they both cursed a couple of times at least. They did say some naughty words, I remember, because I was listening to them talk.
Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, they were said.
I can't. Oh,
Fist yourself!
there we go. That's all he gets. So, just to wrap up our thoughts about Sideways, because we got to move on to the Untouchables here for just a moment. But I absolutely love this movie. Alexander Payne, of course, I probably have more of a soft spot for him than most. He did direct my favorite movie of all time, which is About Schmidt. But when I saw this movie, my expectations were extremely high because this was his follow-up to that, and absolutely blew me out of the water. I absolutely love it. I love the characters in it, as detestable as I find them, and I love wine. So just the fact that they're talking about wine, even though I am nowhere near as pretentious as Miles, even though coincidentally I also fucking hate Merlot, cannot stand it. It's just, it is never ever. I've had like one good Merlot in my life. Like when we go to wineries up in the Finger Lakes to taste wine, I avoid them like the plague. I can't stand them. But I love this movie, so I'll swing around to everybody else for final thoughts, and then we'll move on to the Untouchables.
And start. I really love this film, as we've been talking about. Alexander Payne, great director, really good writing. The performances here are fantastic. And look out for.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for your donation. Thank you.
You know he's donating for the Hopester, right? So
God damn it. Donate more for the Hopester. The Hopester needs money to get boozed on. I'm sorry, JD, as you were saying. Thank you.
The last thing I'll just say about Alexander Payne, he's got a new movie coming out later this year called Downsizing. It looks spectacular, so keep that on your radar.
I kind of pretty much said it already. The performances were great. I really enjoyed the way the characters were so against the grain against each other, and just the overall story was kind of amazing. And although it ends on a cliff note, I thought it was really great.